Hello everyone, welcome back for another video. This is a bit of a different one where I'm going to brainstorm some ideas for travel for 2026. I've still got 2 trips coming up this year. They've just ended up being towards the end of the year, but I want to start thinking about possible travel for next year and beyond. So I'm going to mind map some ideas to give me some inspiration. I'm not looking for extravagant trips, and there's only one trip that's outside of Europe, so most of these ideas are kind of local compared to the sort of travel I normally think about. So my first location is the Scottish Highlands. I've been to the Highlands when I was about 3, but I don't really remember it much, and one of my favourite TV shows, Outlander, is set in the Scottish Highlands. So I'd like to visit Inverness, Loch Ness, the battle site of Culloden, that features heavily in Outlander, and then the Glenfinnan Viaduct, which is also known as the Harry Potter train bridge, and Fort William, which is also a historic landmark. So for this trip, I think I would fly up to Inverness or possibly drive, but from where I live in the southeast of England, it's about a 12 to 14 hour drive without stops, so that would take up a whole 2 days of travel, and I'd like to only allocate 5 to 6 nights for this trip, so I don't really want to take up 2 days with travel. I'm thinking maybe June would be a good time for this trip, or sometime in the summer when sort of you've got the longer daylight hours, so you sort of can squeeze more things in. So the next trip is to explore more of Wales. So I've visited Cardiff many times before, but I would happily go back there. I'd also like to climb Mount Snowdon. So obviously that's up in North Wales, so it would be a road trip from Cardiff. And then near to Snowdon is the little village with the really long name. I can only fit half of it, or not even half of it, on this bit of the paper, so I'll put the name on screen. And then about an hour's drive away from Cardiff is a place called Puzzlewood, which is supposedly the inspiration for the Forbidden Forest in Harry Potter, and some of the films were actually made here. So yeah, I'd like to sort of combine all of those together in sort of like either a big loop, or don't know how I'd do it yet, but it would be a road trip, so we need to drive, and I think maybe 4 to 5 nights would be good for this one. So the next idea is Greece, and to me Greece is always a good idea. If you've seen a lot of my videos, you'll see that I absolutely love Greece and sort of tried to go back every year. Just realised I didn't put when I was thinking of going to Wales, and I think maybe the early May bank holiday would work here. Sort of get a day off for free. But back to Greece, I'm particularly interested in the Thessaloniki and the Halkidiki area, which is up in the north of Greece. I've not been here before, and sort of like to do a makeshift road trip, sort of exploring the different areas around there. I'd also love to spend a month or so just hopping around the different islands. Obviously for a month's trip, I don't think that will be for the next year. So that'll be sometime in the future. And I'd also love to go back to Paxos. I just love it there and find it so relaxing. So this trip would be between 7 to 10 nights, but I think 7 is more likely, and obviously it'd be in the summer. Next place I'd like to explore is Austria. So I've not actually been to many parts of Europe, and there's sort of quite a few places that interest me, but Austria interests me, particularly Vienna. Obviously, it's the capital, but my uncle was involved in the Vienna Boys Choir before the Second World War, and he had to obviously flee Vienna and he came over to the UK. So it would be nice to explore a part of Europe that is linked to my family. I'd also like to visit Bratislava in Slovakia. One of my tutoring families is from there and they've made it sound lovely. And it's only an hour on the train from Vienna, so that could sort of tick off 2 places in one trip. And I'd also like to see Salzburg. The mountains look really pretty, and also obviously that was the setting for The Sound of Music. This trip would probably be about 5 to 6 nights to sort of do all of that, but at a push could do it in 3 to 4 nights, and thinking maybe this could be good for sort of the springtime, so maybe April, May, or during the summer. So this next one is like the big one. So I would love to visit Canada again, in particularly the Rocky Mountains. So I've been to Toronto and absolutely loved it, but sort of all the nature and especially Banff National Park with the lakes and all the parks around there is somewhere I'd really like to visit. I'd also like to go to Vancouver and revisit Toronto, but Banff is the main one. So I could put this off for a couple of years and do like a big 2-week trip at a better time, or if I can find a reasonably priced trip for 5 to 6 days, then just do Banff. Obviously Canada is expensive and I'm trying to be on a budget this year, so this one is unlikely to happen, but I'm putting it down just in case. And I think September could work for this, but it'll all depend on other things going on. Then the next one is Italy. Ever since I met my boyfriend 3 years ago, he has said how much he wants to go to Italy. So he's been very patient. So I feel like it's time for this to happen. I'd like to do Cinque Terre, which is sort of in the north of the country. And I'd like to visit Pompeii, which is obviously in the south. And then my boyfriend would like to do Tuscany and sort of do lots of wine tours and sort of walking around the vineyards. And I'd like to go to Florence too. So sort of maybe combine all of those. So 5 to 6 nights would be good. Or maybe we could split it into 2 trips and do North Italy and South Italy, which may be more manageable, and then do sort of the southern Italy another year, and then I could combine this with going back to Rome. So yeah, that one sort of could be flexible and go either way. And then finally, just a short one is that I'd like to go to Paris and Barcelona. I've been looking at here for years and I've just never made it. And there is a train that links the 2 cities. It's sort of about a 4.5 hour train journey, which would be good. And then sort of thinking of 2 to 3 nights in each place would work. So this is probably one that could happen easily. So yeah, that's all my ideas for now. I haven't started looking into anything yet, but just wanted to get a bit of inspiration for over the next year or so. If you have any recommendations, please feel free to leave them below in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.